good evening, and welcome to our Smyrna Town Council meeting for October. Before we move into our meeting agenda, we do have public comments, and the town's public comment period shall be reserved for those citizens that have signed up to address the town council or a board or committee at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting pursuant to the town's public comment policy as outlined above. If you're going to speak longer than 3 minutes, you are welcome to submit those in writing. Amber is the timekeeper, and let me tell you, she is right on time for 3 minutes. But before you come forward, when you come forward, if you'll state your name, your address, and if you live inside the city limits. And tonight we have two under public comments. Our first is Robert Stevens. If you'll come forward.
Good evening. My name is Robert Stevens. I live at 137 Laurel Hill Drive, and that is here in the town limits. I come here tonight to speak against entering into a contract for a taxpayer-funded lobbyist, which is item number 7E on the agenda. Note, I do have to leave right after this to go to a forum elsewhere, so I will have to watch any discussion that you may or may not have at a later time, unfortunately. Now, with this issue, I suggest that we remove personalities and look at it philosophically and logically, which leads me to 3 reasons why I do not believe that you should move forward with this tonight. First, the question arises as to whether taxpayers should even be funding lobbyists. Many taxpayer-funded lobbyists push for increased spending and higher taxes. Using local tax money to lobby for more state money seems counterintuitive. The best advocates for the town of Smyrna are sitting right in front of me, and also the people at home watching. Phone calls and meetings to raise issues and ask for assistance are quite effective at keeping your local delegation aware of what your priorities are. I rarely get contacted by Smyrna for matters. However, Laverne and Eagleville communicate very regularly, and Rutherford County has started to reach out more this year. Perhaps better communication and more dialogue would be an alternative to spending tax dollars. Regardless, the town is already paying MTAS, which is Municipal Technical Advisory Services, for legislative updates that I'm sure they provide you, just like CTAS did when I was on the county commission, and they can help you with questions that you may have with the state government. Further, the town is paying the Chamber of Commerce, Destination Rutherford, a lot of money each year, which I confirmed also pays the same lobbyist that you're proposing to contract with tonight. I remember talk about a year ago of concern with supposed duplicated services. Maybe this is an area that could present some savings and avoid a triplication. Second, I am working under the assumption that the town does not actually have a current contract with the lobbyist for the $4,000 per month that has been paid for many years. When I made an open records request a few weeks ago and a follow-up, I received a 1-page unsigned document as the contract. I'm speaking here tonight with the understanding that this document is the only document that is contractual in nature, but it is not signed by the town. I could not find on any agenda where this council has voted on this agenda item, but it could have been done other business, I suppose. If this is incorrect, please let me know. A few questions really need to be answered if this unsigned document that I have uncovered is what is being used as a contract. Who authorized the initial payment if there was no council-approved contract? When did the payments begin? How much has been paid out? Did anyone know that this was being paid without a valid contract? Would this have even been known had I not made my open records request? Did the finance department not question where the signed contract is or if the council voted on this when the payments began? Are other vendors being paid without contracts? We need an investigation into all the town's contracts to be sure that this is an isolated matter. The final question is, what recourse would we have to seek reimbursement for any money that should not have been paid out? Will you commit tonight to finding who authorized this unapproved spending and be transparent with us as to why the proper process was not followed? My estimate is that this is getting close to $300,000 that's been paid out over nearly 6 years, and we do need to know who dropped the ball here and if we can get any money back on this.
3 minutes, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Lindsay Schultz.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Schultz, and I live at 220 Priestview Drive, Smyrna, Tennessee, and I think that's in the city limits. I'm sorry, I didn't check.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It is.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Good evening, esteemed members of the Smyrna City Town Council and the community at large. My name is Lindsay Schultz, and I run the Spine Bookshop across the street in the Bolin Building on the 2nd floor. I am here tonight to share with you a special initiative that we are doing at the Spine. As many of you are aware, the Appalachian area and the North Carolina area was devastated by Hurricane Helene, and in fact, some towns are completely wiped out. As a way of giving back and supporting those victims in need, we will be donating 5% of every children's book sold during the month of October to SCEN, which stands for Southeast Climate and Energy Network. They are a wonderful charity organization that's actively assisting the victims of Hurricane Helene right now as we're speaking. And they're doing it in the Appalachian and Carolina areas. And as of this week so far, the Spine has donated $52, and we hope to donate a whole lot more. This whole cause holds a special place in my heart, as I have visited Asheville, North Carolina a handful of times, and it is absolutely beautiful. And I've come to really adore that city and the whole area. The devastation caused by Hurricane Helene is truly heartbreaking. And I believe that as a community, we can make meaningful impact by supporting those affected. So I kindly invite each and every one of you to join us in this effort by either purchasing children's books from the Spine. You can visit our website, or you can actually come into the shop, or you can just make a donation in person at the shop. Every bit of support, no matter how small, can make a significant difference to the victims of those impacted by the hurricane. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. Thank you. Lindsay, will you come back?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So, not necessarily about this, but tell us a little bit about your business and how long you've been here.
I started the Spine Bookshop in my office upstairs and quickly became a fire hazard with all the books. And we've been in business for 2 years and 7 months. And I rented the space across the street in June. So one of the things that we really lean into is local and independently published authors. That was our lean into from the get-go. But I also really wanted to be in a position to donate my time and donate money and attention to causes that I felt were worthy, like the LGBTQ community, charitable events like helping the victims of Hurricane Helene. Anytime there's a banned book, I try to speak out about it, and just anything that I feel democracy should give me the opportunity to use my store and my voice for those who can't speak.
Well, we are glad that you're here in Smyrna, and I'm glad that you've chosen this cause. So we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Amber, I am going to call our meeting to order, and tonight we are going to ask Hal Laughlin, our PGA Director of Golf, to do our prayer, and our pledge is going to be done by Charles King, our town engineer. So if you'll all stand with us, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day and for this time, this opportunity to open our meeting in prayer. We thank you, Father, for the quality of life and the many blessings that we share as citizens of Smyrna. I ask, Father, tonight for your guidance and your wisdom and counsel for the mayor and the council members, and that they have favor with those in the community that they interact with. I also ask, Father, for protection, a hedge of protection around our fire and police as they occasionally get in harm's way, but also a peace over their families as they support those that work for us in these areas. I have a special prayer tonight, Father, for those victims of the Hurricane Helene, and as they are trying to recover, that you continue to watch over those that are bringing the supplies and helping to put the families back together. But also, Father, those that are in harm's way now, the new hurricane that's approaching Florida. I just ask, Lord, that those that are the fire, the police, the electrical workers, all those that are in the process of trying to get people safe and to keep them out of harm's way, that you just watch over them and protect them, Father. And finally, Father, I just ask you, and I thank you for the opportunity that I've had for this time that I've spent with the town of Smyrna, and the many blessings that I've received from my time, and the opportunity that you gave me to be an employee for the town of Smyrna. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag.
Thanks, Hal. Thanks, Charles. Miss Amber, if you'll do roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Peebles,
Here.
Councilman Cole,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Morrell,
Present.
Councilman Short, Councilman Sullivan.
Here.
Vice Mayor Atkins.
Here.
Mayor Reed.
Here. Okay, make sure my volume's down so y'all won't hear the Facebook of the meeting going off, so. We will move into approval or corrections of the minutes of the September 10th, 2024 special called and regular meetings of the town's council and the September 26th, 2024 special called and workshop meetings of the town council. Any additions or corrections to these? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Mayor. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes pass. Any correspondence or communication, Amber or Jeff?
No, ma'am.
None.
Okay. Awards and recognition. Tonight is a special night, but also a sad night. It is Hal's last meeting with us, and
He can come back, can't he?
he can absolutely come back. He just won't be coming back in that same role.
No, Scott has his.
I think, that's right. Scott, I think, will fight him for that. So, but I want to tell you a little bit about Hal. Hal began his career with the town of Smyrna as an assistant PGA golf pro at our course in 1993. And in 1998 was named as head golf professional and director of golf at the Smyrna Municipal Golf Course. Hal embodies servant leadership as an employee of the town of Smyrna and through his involvement in the greater Smyrna community. He's passionate about providing access to the game of golf for all individuals. Hal's servant heart is evident through advocating for Smyrna to host the Tennessee Special Olympics annual golf tournament for over 2 decades. The Olympic-style event for athletes from across Tennessee culminates in a state golf event at the Smyrna Municipal Golf Course in September of each year. In addition, Hal championed for Smyrna's First Tee program in 2000, with Smyrna becoming the 87th First Tee facility in the United States. This initiative rivals and empowers kids and teens through the game of golf by seamlessly integrating the game with the life skills curriculum and creating active learning experiences that build inner strength, self-confidence, and resilience that kids can carry through life. For his mentoring ability, Hal won 4 straight awards from 1999 to 2002, and in addition, Hal was a 3-time Tennessee PGA Section Horton Smith Award winner in 2004, 2008, and 2009. And he was also honored as the 2001 Middle Tennessee Golf Professional of the Year. In 2022, Hal was named recipient of the Tennessee PGA Distinguished Career Award. This prestigious award recognizes current or former Tennessee PGA Section members who have had outstanding careers as PGA professionals based on service to his or her club, course, or employer, service and leadership to the association, community service, professional playing record, and teaching ability. Hal provided expertise as a representative on the Tennessee PGA Board of Directors for 6 years and is chair of the Tennessee Golf Association Handicap Committee, as well as serving the Middle Tennessee chapter as chapter secretary and chapter director. Hal's credited with the design and construction oversight of the 9-hole executive course at Smyrna Municipal Golf Course. On behalf of the town council and the Smyrna community, we congratulate Hal on his remarkable professional achievements and wish him the very best in his retirement after 31 exceptional years dedicated to the town of Smyrna. And on a personal note, Hal, you've always been in my corner. You have always, anything that I've asked, you have never said no. You've always stepped up, not only with the town, but anything personally as well. We are going to miss you. I know Scott is going to do a great job, but you can't be replaced here at the town. And so on behalf of myself and the council, we do have a little something for you. Before we bring him up, is there anything anybody else would like to add?
Well, I had an opportunity to talk to Hal a few minutes on Friday when we had a little retirement gathering for him, but I'll echo what you said about who Hal is. And he's not just a golf pro, and he doesn't just manage a golf shop for us. Hal is a genuine, godly man, and his character stands far and above most people that I know. So I want to say that to you personally, Hal. I've said this to you, but publicly I want people to know what we think of you and how much we appreciate who you have been and who you are today and who you'll continue to be with your family. Hal knows that I have an eagle on my scorecard. He's the only one that knows that, so. And it wasn't when I was playing with them in a scramble, so, just so you know. I appreciate you lying for me to score that eagle, so. Just kidding. Thank you, Hal, for all you've done.
Yeah, I'd like to add my thanks to you, Hal. You know, the one thing that always strikes me when you're in the community, you're always a great ambassador to the town. I know that you're in several times at where I'm employed, and it's always a feeling of pride when you come in the door, and I just know that how you conduct yourself, both on the clock with Smyrna and off the clock. You're just a tremendous ambassador, so thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay.
No, I'm gonna say something.
Oh, okay.
You know, for sure, I appreciate everything that Hal's done over the years, but when it gets down to it, his is one of the unique departments within the community where people expect it to stay in the black. And, you know, for a while, it wasn't in the black, but then Hal was able to make some changes out there and bring it along and put the golf course in the black. And I also appreciate the soccer foot golf course that he put in there, which is unique to the, well, not to the entire state, but there's very few of them. And, you know, it's something special for us to have that also. You know, not really saying goodbye to Hal because I know we're going to see him around town, and just let him know we appreciate him. Thank you, Hal.
Hal, if you'll come forward. Yeah, y'all come down.
Guess we're going down now.
Need a new driver.
Do you mean like a car, like driving a car? Is that what you mean? So I have to tell you, Melissa Scott, thank you. Melissa Scott went out and took a picture for us, and we just wanted you to be able to remember what's been home to you for 31 years. I'm sure you'll still be around, but hopefully when you see this on your wall, you'll think of us and think of the town of Smyrna with great thoughts. Good. You are welcome. Do you want to say anything?
Well, I sort of have, but I mean, the town, this has been my life for 30 years, and you guys have all been so good to me and been so supportive and so open-minded and allowed myself and Scott and the staff to be able to do the things that we needed to do and the things that would make it unique and make it special. And it has come a long way from a 1945 military 18-hole golf course to 27 holes right now, and executive course and first tee, and I mean everything that we've been allowed to do to make it special. And I just can't tell you, that's the hardest part of me leaving, is it's been my life. Y'all have been my family for 30 years, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate every one of you and everything you've done for me.
Thank you. We'll let Chief Bill get his picture.
Okay.
You know, we gotta, yeah.
Thank you.
Al, I'm just glad that this work thing's gonna get out of the way so we can play more golf. I'm just glad about that.
Okay, we'll now move on to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda are items that are determined by the town manager to be routine matters and not necessarily needing discussion, but if there is an item that a council member would like to pull off and discuss individually, we can do that. I do always like to read all of these so those here in the audience and those at home know exactly what we're voting on. So tonight, under the consent agenda, we have A, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Homeland Security relative to the police department overtime pay and capital projects purchases. B, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with, how was it? Bonnets for removal and installation of new carpet in the golf course clubhouse. C, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with KCI Technologies Incorporated to perform consulting services to optimize the payment processing of CityWorks transactions for Treasury. Item D, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Baseline Sports Constructions LLC to resurface the basketball and pickleball courts at Lee Victory Recreation Park and Hilltop Rosenwald Park. Item E, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal agreement with Jigsaw Consulting Firm to perform legislative updates and lobbying efforts on behalf of the town of Smyrna. Item F is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute change order number 3 for the 1R lift station. Item G is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a 3-year agreement with Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated for the Utilities Department GIS software. Item H is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a 5-year agreement with UniFirst for uniforms. Item I is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Thomas & Hutton for the reuse tank project. Item J is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with S&W Contracting to install flashing yellow permissive arrow signals at intersections along Old Nashville Highway. Item K is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with TDOT to allow the town of Smyrna to access the Smart View cameras. Item L is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Southern Lighting and Traffic Systems for CentraTrack software maintenance. Item M is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute amendment number 2 with TDOT relative to the State Route 266 Sam Ridley Parkway intersection at Old Nashville Highway. And item N is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the proposal with Gresham Smith for survey and conceptual designs for Rock Springs Road at Old Nashville Highway and at Highway Intersection Project. I would like to pull off item E and have individual discussion about that. Is there any other item that a council member would like to pull off and discuss individually?
I have A and F.
A and F? Okay,
And if it's all right, pull off M as well for some comments from Charles King.
okay.
Busy or not?
Okay, so A, E, F, and M, we're gonna pull off. Other than those items, do I have a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So we're gonna go to item A. John? Approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Homeland Security relative to police department overtime pay and capital projects purchases.
Sierra may be
Hello.
able to help you with it. Can you not? Do you need my copy of it? No, I'm good. Okay. All right.
Okay. So how it's broken down on the budget grant is that half goes to salaries, benefits, and taxes, $37,860. And then the other then there's $37,140 that go to supplies, telephone, postage, shipping, occupancy, equipment rental, maintenance, printing, and publications. How does that get reported in our budget, and is it kept separate or lumped into whatever the police budget
There
is?
should be a line item in capital projects this year for THSO grant expenses in the police capital project budget. All the expenses get coded there for the equipment, and then Donna in our department submits a reimbursement request from the grant
Okay, so
administrators. As far as payroll though, anytime there's overtime specifically related to THSO, Andy Miller sends us their overtime, and then we compile it and calculate the payroll taxes and submit that, and then we get reimbursed.
Okay, so on the second part to this with the postage and whatnot, do you start here looking at whatever the THP, do you look at this first?
The
Before
grant?
you start, yes, you take that grant money before we start spending our money, or the taxpayer money?
If I think I understand what you're asking, we have to spend the money first and then we get reimbursed? Is that what you're asking?
But do we do that, do we use all the grant money first before we start looking at our budget?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
THP?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So Andy submits the exact equipment that he wants, and then that gets approved through the grant, and he only purchases that equipment. And then as far as the overtime, I think he has a hard time finding people to agree to work all the overtime, so we don't usually spend all that anyways. So we don't usually spend the whole grant amount.
So does it then roll over to the next year, or does it have to go back?
We have to reapply. We forfeit whatever we don't
You
spend.
forfeit it, okay. Okay, those are my questions.
Yeah, I guess, just to be clear, this is overtime related to THSO
Yeah, it's very
activities.
specific
Very
activities.
specific.
Yes.
It's not just any police overtime, it's just for THSO activities.
Correct.
Okay, other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion for A?
Motion to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item E is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal agreement with Jigsaw Consulting Firm to perform legislative updates and lobbying efforts on behalf of the town of Smyrna. And Representative Stevens was here and had asked some questions about that. Jeff, can you give us a little bit of how we've kind of gotten here to this point?
Sure, and bear with me, I made some notes here. Because of an open records request made by Mr. Stevens, which is why we found it, concerning consultants and lobbying, the town clerk initiated gathering documents in response. Because these documents were prior to our current software, Agenda Quick, which has funneling features for all of our items, prior to 2020, the clerk had to seek out hard copies from the various departments. What we found was an agreement from February of 2018, which was signed by the lobbyist for the Ingram Group, and it provided for services at $5,000 a month. The second agreement document...
And that came before us, right?
Yes, it did come before
Yes,
you.
came before us, we voted on that, okay.
Yes, it did come before you.
And when do we vote on that one?
February 16th of 2018.
Okay.
The second agreement document we found for consultant lobbying services was signed by the same lobbyist as with Ingram. However, it was listed under Rock Springs Strategies, doing business as Jigsaw, for $4,000 a month, so $1,000 less a month. The date on that document was in November of 2018, and the hard copy in possession of the town only contained the signature of the consultant, but did not have a signature from a representative of the town. Because the clerk could not find a dual executed copy of the agreement to terms, and because I did not find a definitive term renewal date, which I try to ensure in each agreement, I advised Jigsaw that the town needs a new agreement in order to attach both party signatures and to add a date certain renewal period. Also with the unchanged monthly fee of $4,000 a month for consultant and lobbying services. Subsequently, after diligent search of the agendas and minutes from 2018 and 19 for that matter, the clerk advised she could not locate when the Jigsaw agreement was presented at a regularly scheduled town council meeting. The agreement should have been presented to the town council prior to December of 2018. With the documents that the clerk found, I cannot advise why this agreement was not placed on the agenda, and we do not have a record of it in the legal department either that we could find. Of course, this is a professional services contract and not a competitively bid contract for goods or construction, etc. While yes, the agreement should have been presented to the town council by the town manager, under the contract law, 3 prongs are required. There's an offer, acceptance, and consideration. The town contractually accepted the terms of this agreement by paying the first invoice in December of 2018 and the remaining invoices for the past 6 years. Additionally, the town has received the monthly updates each month from Jigsaw Firm, and the firm has also provided in-person presentations at each of our annual town council budget retreats. It was apparent both parties acted according to the terms of the agreement, but we could not find where it was brought to the town council. Things are a little different these days in 2024. Besides having the software, now there is a limit, so if it's an agreement for under $10,000, the town manager can sign those and without council approval. But this is the first one I can recall seeing that was not presented to council. But obviously, it's an oversight and a mistake, and I can't tell you how that happened. just that it did happen by the documents that we have and the lack of information that we found.
Okay. Questions on process?
Just a couple of questions. The original document that we signed in February of 18, what was the term of that document? Or did it have a term?
It was probably the open-ended, because it's the same actual person, he just changed
Yeah,
places, so let me see.
And dropped his price.
yeah, and lowered the price.
Yeah, the price was lower, but I think it pretty much mirrors. Be the last one I come to. No, it did not have an end date either. Of course, with all of these agreements, they have a ripcord, as I would call it. That's probably not a professional legal term, but that within 30 days, either party can retreat from it without any damages or breach.
Yeah, the only reason I ask that is because, you know, just a few months later, essentially the name changed and they lowered the rate. Doesn't really, I guess it does change the contract because it's technically a different company name, but our expectation was the same. And I guess this is really for the council. I don't think, is there anyone up here who didn't know we were doing business with Jigsaw, didn't understand that we were doing business, or thought we weren't paying them? I mean, I think we all knew this contract was happening. We all knew that we had continued to do it, and we had been part of those reviews every year when they provided them.
Well, and I can remember when, in February of 18, when we originally voted on it, that he came and gave a presentation about why do we even need a lobbyist? What's the reasoning behind needing a lobbyist? So I do remember that, so. But I do agree that we need to get a signed contract, and it should have been brought before.
Yes,
Should have been brought before council.
most definitely should have been.
Yeah, I'm just trying to point out, I don't think anything happened in a bubble. I think we all knew that we had a contract with them and we're doing business with them. There should have been a contract signed, absolutely, but it wasn't done without us knowing or anything nefarious. It's just a mistake.
Sure. And my point for mentioning was the town essentially accepted those terms by paying that invoice and for the remainder of the 6 years. But it was important to me, once I noticed that after the open records request of what Amber was able to find, that I need to get it on the agenda so that we have something. But I also like to have a date certain, ending date for a renewal period to keep going.
So I have several questions. So you talked about the fact that we didn't have a term in there, and now we're looking at 5 years. But to me, I think that that's a long time to have a contract where you still also have a 30-day out.
Sure.
In this new contract, how do we measure work performance? And how do we measure deliverables? Because all of those things are not discussed in this new one-pager that we are talking about. And I also want to know, so who is the client? So would we all be the client? Would the town manager be the point of contact with the lobbyist? Or how does that work? Or how is it supposed to work?
Sure. So the town government itself, the entity, Town of Smyrna, local government is the client. Now, you are all the board of directors and agents of the client. So at any time, if you wanted to speak with them, you could at any time. The length of the contract, obviously, that's why we're bringing it. It's up to this council if you want to do less or more. The thing is, with having 30 days notice, you can retreat from it in 3 months. You can retreat from it in 5 years, but it's up to this council what you want to do.
And how are you going to address work performance? How are you measuring that, and what the deliverables are? What is your proposal for that?
I think that is up to this council, so that they're providing you these updates as they do each month. If you'd like for them to, which they come to the budget retreats and present to you there, and they can answer questions there in the public forum. I think if there's times that you want to see more, or you think there needs to be more lobbying efforts, or certain lobbying efforts, there's a specific thing that you'd like to see them address more, I think just as the county has done, I think we can always schedule them to appear at certain meetings and for you to ask them. But when you see the things each month, then you can kind of, that's where you're getting your concrete of what they're doing. Otherwise, it's kind of abstract because we don't know what's happening in the legislature from month to month and what's going on. So that's going to be dependent upon what the issues are. There could be sometimes we have more items, could be sometimes we have less items, but that would be for the council. If any member starts saying, hey, I don't know if they're working as hard as they should be, or I don't like what I'm seeing, then you can make a motion to bring it up to rescind this contract.
Okay.
You
'Cause
know,
I don't-
when back in 2018, when we first started talking about bringing on a lobbyist, I was very skeptical about why would we need that. And as time has gone by, I found out, of course, that the lobbyist doesn't just work with the legislature, that he also works with the other departments of the state, TDOT, TDEC, so on and so forth, and then also interactions with other corporations within the state for us to be able to communicate with them also. His contacts are
Sure.
very good.
So how are you knowing that he's doing all those things? Like, we're not getting a monthly list of all the things that he's doing for us.
Well, the legislature doesn't meet monthly, does it?
The legislature meets, what, 4 months?
Yeah.
But I'm saying
Have you gotten the emails then?
we've gotten that, but then also MTS does that too. Provides us the summaries of what the latest bills are and what's coming up.
I guess what
So I
I'm-
want to know what else is he
Well,
doing?
I guess, what do you think he should be doing that you feel like you're not getting?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking
So-
these questions.
Well, I guess in the past, that was what we had asked him to do, was provide a weekly update when legislature was in session. And if we want to see something different, or then we just need to ask for that. And so
And so
I say
that's-
that's what we need to do now, if
Well,
there's something else that we want
yeah,
to
what-
have done.
Because that's only, what, 4 months though? That's January, or 5 months? January through April?
Well,
So what are we getting?
we actually get a preview, if you'll recall, we get a preview of what's coming up in the legislative years or the legislative year, and what the hot issues they think they would be and what impact they may be on the community.
And I will tell you that there are many times, I know that Jeff uses Jigsaw when there's issues with different departments. If we're having an issue with a road project, that we may bring them in to go help meet with TDOT or get meetings set up. So those things are being done, and maybe what we need to do is ask them to do the same thing that we're doing with directors, that we get a weekly report. I don't think that they would mind doing that either.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What I remember was around 2018, I think it was right before this, we all went down to the state office and we met with officials, including Glenn Casada and a couple other folks, about our road projects, Sam Ridley and Jefferson Pike and the intersections. And I remember coming away from those meetings feeling like we did not have representation or voices at the table, and that's what spawned the conversation for us to even start talking about a lobbyist. Since we got that lobbyist, we've gotten those projects completed, Sam Ridley and Jefferson Pike, and I'm not so sure those would have happened without having that support, because we had been trying for years and they had not moved. So I think that's a key part of what they do, is represent us at the table when there's other towns in the state that have lobbyists that are politicking and trying to get funds from TDOT and from other organizations to fund their projects. If they have lobbyists at the table and we don't, we're getting left out of those conversations.
So
And I
are
think
we-
that's a critical part of the whole process.
Are they lobbying, are they specifically a lobbyist for the town of Smyrna and are listed as such?
I don't know that that's a requirement of the state. I know lobbying for governments is done differently, but Jeff would have to answer that.
Not sure.
The requirement, I
Not sure
think the
understand.
requirement at the state in regards to lobbying is different for government than it is for other
You
organizations.
know, they have certain things they have to go by, but I'm not sure I understand the question
So are
just right.
they specifically listed for us to be our lobbyists for the
Yes, sir.
town of Smyrna?
Yes, so we employ them for that, but that doesn't, they're not only just a lobbyist for us, so they're a consulting firm.
exclusively,
So
yeah.
obviously, yeah, so they're with other, that's what I want to make sure. So they are for other places as well. I don't know about cities, but, you know, for other entities that they do lobbying efforts. But yes, they are consultant lobbyist on behalf of the town of Smyrna. And so, as they stated, a lot of it is setting us up with meetings with people that we may not know because they're on the Hill every day where we're unable to be there, and having those contacts and relationships. That's the reason that I remember that they went to it back in, when they even hired the Ingram Group back in January of 18, or February of 18. But like I said, any of the avenues of the contract is up for this council to decide if you want something else or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was 5 years ago, and, you know, I know Representative Stevens has come in the office in the last 2 years, but largely we haven't seen any change in the communications one way or the other between us and our representatives. We hosted events and stuff, and sometimes they come, sometimes they don't, but it often felt like in those conversations that there were other towns, other cities getting funding or getting approvals to move forward with projects, and we were getting left out. And with or without representatives. But once we've added Jigsaw or Ingram Group and then Jigsaw, it seems like we now have more conversation at the table, and we're able to actually get in front of the right decision makers to make our case. Just like with the Almaville Road, they kind of put us off. We were ready to go. Then they've decided this choice lanes. Well, that conversation, because of our lobbyists and because of their efforts, that conversation is not dead. It could potentially come back up, and it will still get done.
Well, and I think there is so much going on when they are in session that, I mean, I don't think we can expect our representatives to be calling us on a daily. They're busy like we are when we're doing stuff. And so I do think having eyes and ears down there and a lobbyist, and there's no way we could employ somebody for $48,000 to do that job as an employee for the town of Smyrna by the time we paid benefits and all that. So, I mean, I do think we get a major bang for our buck. I know that they were instrumental on Sam Ridley. I know they were instrumental when we were getting the grant for, on Front Street with the pavilion and the band and the stage and all that. So, I mean, when the whole thing with the Almaville Road happened, Beecher was great with getting us in front of the right people to talk about what can we do to hopefully continue to move that forward. So, I mean, especially during session, but even when session's not going on. But I don't disagree that I think that if we want to see more communication when it's not in session, I think that's something that we can ask for.
Well, when they're working now on what they're going to work on when they come into session next year. So, I mean, the lobbyists have still got to be aware of what's going on throughout the year.
Well, I think with the whole choice lanes conversation, I mean, how that's going to impact us is really unknown.
Absolutely.
And I think it's critical that we've got somebody down there that's keeping not just Rutherford County, but Smyrna specifically in mind.
Well, we've talked about Rocky Ford Road for as long as I've been on this body, since '09. We've talked about Almaville Road and that exit for well over 15 years now being a failing exit. And there's only so much your local government can do. We have to have help from the state level. And that's where Beecher and Jigsaw and before the Ingram Group was able to kind of help us make forward steps in getting those people to the table and having those conversations. Are we there yet? No, we're not. As Steve mentioned, we've got talking about choice lanes being discussed now by TDOT instead of making those repairs at those intersections that we've all been trying so hard to get. What I do appreciate, though, is that whether it was Ingram or Jigsaw, they've always been at any legislative body meeting that we call for to get our state representatives and our state senators to sit down with us and hear us. We've been doing that on a pretty regular basis up until late. And in addition, at every one of our budget retreats, every one of them, we've all had an opportunity, every one of us, to question whether or not they were getting the job done right or wrong. And that's never come up. So we've all been very compliant with the fact that Jigsaw has done us a good job so far. As I see it, everybody may have a different opinion. You know, one of the things we got recognized for last year at the TML, Tennessee Municipal League, was excellence in governance. That's a high award to receive from a municipality like Smyrna, Tennessee. We're very proud of that. What's that say? It means this body whether you have issues with us or don't like us, whatever, your town is being governed in a form of excellence. And I think that says a lot because we have people such as Jigsaw that will go to the mat for us and help us get some of these things funded, or at least put on the reception map of those people that we got to get their ear. So, and I agree with you. We have state reps that could report to us. They typically don't, and it's probably because they don't have the time. They're much like many of us. They're working all the time. But I would like to hear more from our state reps from time to time, just from a standpoint of how can we help your community a little bit. I'm not picking on one here. I'm picking on everybody from the state level but they're so doggone busy, and that's the reason we have to have people who can go up and speak and listen and help the town out.
Well, I don't think it's an accident, right? We have several state representatives that support or represent portions of Smyrna. Mike Sparks, I think, has probably the largest portion of Smyrna. But Representative Stevens, I think he only has like 170 citizens in his district that are in Smyrna city limits. And so, to be fair, if he's got to represent all of his constituents, Smyrna is a very small portion of that. So when he's having conversations, he's got to keep that in mind, that he's talking about Rockvale and Eagleville and Smyrna, and it's not just Smyrna. So I think that's the other difference, is by having our own lobbyist, it's someone who's focusing on Smyrna and not necessarily considering what's happening as how it may affect Rockvale or Eagleville or somewhere else. And again, that's not a knock about Representative Stevens at all. It's just the reality. He has a very small portion of his constituents that are in Smyrna city limits. And so therefore, he's, if I was doing it that way, I would look at it the same way. If 90% of my constituents were in Eagleville, then that's where I'm going to focus my direction.
And I'm not even addressing the whole representative or state delegation. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of what they are doing for us and how they're doing it for us, and just trying to get clarification on who they're doing it for. Because to be honest with you, I thought most of the discussion with Jigsaw or with Beecher or Ingram at the time came through the mayor or through the town manager. Was I very much aware that if I have a question about any of that it's okay for me to call and pick up the phone and talk with one of them? That's just not something that I thought was the proper channel or proper protocol, which is why I'm asking now, like, are they here for all of us, or are they here to talk to one particular contact? So I'm just trying to get clarification.
But every email that they send every week says, if you have questions or
Here's the number.
concerns, let us know. But that goes to all of us.
I know it goes to all of us, but I didn't know if that was the protocol or not, because most of the time I thought they talked to you, or at that particular time, Brian.
But I've called.
Well, I didn't know that.
Well, if
I didn't know
you
that
see
you
an email
called.
that says, what?
If you have questions, go.
If you have questions, call. There've been things that I've seen that I've called. I didn't think, oh my gosh, I've got to go talk to this person or that person. The email was to all of us. And so I called and I got answers.
Okay, which is why I'm sitting here now trying to make sure I'm understanding what the role needs to be in making sure protocol.
I guess I'm just trying to understand, there was nothing ever listed on an email, or there was never a discussion about protocol. So
There was never that. That was never that.
Help
So
me to
that's,
understand.
my understanding of that is different from yours, because there was never a conversation about it. That's my whole point.
I'm sorry that's what you thought. I thought with the email coming out to all of us and it's saying if you have questions or concerns coming from Jigsaw, that everybody knew that if they had a question or a concern, they could ask. So hopefully that's been cleared up. Are there other things that you or anybody else would like to see? Because I think Jigsaw would be very open to anything that we as council would like to see them do. So is there something else you all would like to see done?
I'm good. I think they're doing a great job, and every time I've ever reached out to Beecher or called him or anybody on his staff, they've always been very responsive. So I have no concerns. I think they're doing a good job representing us, and they have been.
He's been very present as well in person at all of our meetings and retreats. And
I often see him at town events. I often see him at
so
other
it's not
things,
hard to
which
reach
may
him.
not be his requirement. It's not part of the contract, but he's still there.
is there more either one of you all would like to see done?
I'm gonna be honest, I can't think of anything, but Raquel, if you've got something in mind that you think they should be doing or not, I'd be open to discussing it, because maybe I'm just not thinking of it, right? But I don't know what it would be.
Okay, well, at this point, I'm hearing that you all see them doing or being present on a lot of the issues that we've had at the state level. I don't know if it is that we need to have them present at all of those things. I'm not saying don't do that, I'm just saying, is that what the expectation is of them, and is that what you have them doing, or is that what they anticipate doing for us, or have been doing and will continue to do, is at all of our meetings or any type of reaching out regarding state-related issues, they are part of that? Is that what
And I
they're
don't,
doing?
that's not my decision, that's this body's decision to make. I mean,
My understanding, and Jeff, I guess you tell me, or Mayor, if I've got it wrong, but my understanding is, just like we said, their job is to represent us. And that's both ways, right? If we come up with something, or we see something going through legislature that we think is gonna affect us, then we have an obligation to reach out to them and say, hey, we saw this, you might wanna dig in, what can you tell us? But at the same time, there are eyes and ears there, so that if they see something that might affect us that we're not aware of, they're supposed to be reaching out and letting us know that. And I think that's happening, but I think that's their job. So when you talk about deliverables, the deliverables are they keeping us aware of things that might be impacting us or representing us when we ask them to? I think that's what they're supposed to be doing, and I think that's what they're doing.
Okay, and so how does that flow from when the legislature is not in, like the rest of
Yeah.
those 6
Well,
months? How
I
do
think
we
it's,
define that?
well, the legislature in is just when it's moving through committee or being voted on. The bills are being written the rest
Right.
of the year. So I think they're involved in that whole process, even the 8 months that it's not in session. In addition, they're also representing us at the table for funding discussions and other things that may come up through that 8 months. I mean, based on that logic, the question could be asked, what do state representatives do for the other 8 months? Right? If the lobbyists had nothing to do for 8 months, then what are the representatives doing?
I'm not sure what they're doing, but
But
they're not in
that's
a
my-
contract with us right now. I'm just trying to figure out how to set some
that's-
deliverables. That's what I'm talking
Well,
about.
that's my point, is if representatives are busy 12 months, then a lobbyist that's meeting with the representatives would be busy for the same 12 months, right? They're doing the same work. They're trying to work with those folks that are presenting bills. Some may be local, some may be not, but could affect us all. You know, there's bills going through state right now to try to block lobbyists. You know, obviously, that's something that we might need to know about, and that they may obviously be concerned about. So we've heard that that's coming. We've heard, you know, like the impact, the property taxes that came through Rutherford County that ended up getting tabled or kicked out of committee or whatever happened to it. Those were things that were gonna
when the
impact
impact
us.
fees.
Yeah, and we were made aware of that and said, hey, this is coming, this could impact you.
To give you an example of, other than, of course, I want to shout out to MTAS. They are a great organization, as well as TMLL, Tennessee Municipal League, and Municipal Technical Advisory Service. But they represent the interest of all the cities, and so what's best for all, not for the individual. But they're a great resource, and you're correct, we do use them. Just to give you an example of some of the things that's not just them dealing with representatives, I can give you an example. I think it was a year, 2 years ago, there was a bill going around about renting out your swimming pools, your private swimming pools. And so they contacted me as town attorney. They contacted me, you know, do you have any concerns about this? What improvements do you think? Because then they would network with the lobbyist for this swimming pool organization. I won't use their name, but they were talking with them of what could have what rules could be on it that the cities could live with, or that, you know, they could get support from. I don't think it ever worked out, because I think it failed, which was good. But it's those types of things that will come up that they'll either we ask them to as the town attorney or the town manager, or even the council if you so choose. Hey, look at this, monitor this. But a lot of times they'll let us know, because they can see a lot of the amendments that come through before we can see them, before we can get online to see them. They'll see them even prior to that, and they'll let us know, this is coming down the pike. Do you have any, not just yes or no, but are there things that you would like to see that would make it more digestible to you? Or controls in place? How would it affect your town? Those types of things is what we generally deal with. And on my town attorney side, that's what I usually deal with them the most on is legislation about how's this going to affect us, and if it's not just to know what controls should we put in place, and that's what they start working on then.
I also think it's relationship building that they're doing, that they've made contacts at the state and the federal level as well, and that when we need that contact or we need to be put in touch with that person or we have a problem, that they have already built that relationship so they can go sit down and help mediate to a solution. So that's been another big part that I think that they've brought to the table.
Well, and they keep those relationships, so when there's turnover, head count changes, somebody's no longer in that position, they know who the new person is, and they immediately start those relationships. There's been times that I've reached out to Beecher when I've had a quick conversation, maybe not even specifically, but just who or what department is doing this and who is that person. If I want to send an email saying, hey, this is bad for the town, I don't even know who to send it to. And Beecher's been able to help me with those kind of communications. Not do it for me, but just give me the information.
So,
Do you know, Jeff, and I don't know if this is out there, do you know of the 300 plus towns in in Tennessee, how many of them have lobbyists? Do you know?
I wouldn't know. I just know some of the city attorneys that I work with in the Middle Tennessee area that have those, but I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, it seems like in the
Every
most recent
city does.
years, more and more towns and counties are hiring them. And it seems like there's more and more, which to me, it's kind of like I said earlier, if other towns and counties have people at the table having that conversation and we don't, then we're potentially being left out of those conversations.
I would definitely say your more urban areas will probably more than
Right.
those that are not.
and I think if you looked over the last 6 years that we've had them employed, and if the amount is almost 300,000, I think, based on the amount of grants and what they've been able to bring to the town of Smyrna, I think you would find that what they've been able to bring way outweighs that. If we put a dollar figure to the things that they've helped us, to help us get. So, but I'm very open to us telling them if there's other things that we want to see them provide. And maybe that's not something we can come up with tonight, and maybe that's something that they can say to us, look, here's other things that, for you to be able to get more information, or if you come up with something and, or anybody else on the council that you want to see, I think they'd be very open to providing that. But I hope everybody on the council knows when you get those emails that if you have a question or a concern, just like it says, that you can individually reach out. Other questions or comments?
Well, I'd like to have a conversation with them as far as what they can provide and what those deliverables look like.
Sure. I'm sure Beecher will be happy to sit down with you and talk about that, in addition to what that they provide on a weekly basis when they're in, or right before they get started in session. Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, I would like to be able to talk with them before voting on this, but I see most of you all have already made decisions, so I get it.
I guess I'm curious as to, if we've been doing business with them for 6 years and you've not been happy, why have you not said something before now?
I don't know that if I had said something before now that it would have been, that I would have had a voice in this.
I think everybody sitting up here has a voice. I mean, every person
I don't know
sitting
that it would
up
have been
here.
taken seriously, but if I had concerns.
Every time you've had a concern, every one of us listen. We try to come to some resolution. I feel like even with this, we've tried to come to some resolution and saying, what is it more that you want? We're happy to ask for that.
which is why I said I would like to have a conversation with him, or with Jigsaw.
What more would you like to see?
I don't know what I would like to see. I would like to have a conversation with him because I don't think that I've ever had a one-on-one with him to know
But
what that
whose-
needs to look like.
Whose fault is that, if there's fault?
It sounds like you're saying it's mine.
Yeah, I am. If you've got an email in front of you that says, if you have any questions, please call, and you don't take the initiative to call, either you don't have a problem with it, or we're waiting tonight to voice it after 6 years. So yes, I am.
Okay, well then, I guess it is my fault then, but,
But
that
when
being
also-
said, I also talked to you about what I thought the protocol was, and you said there wasn't a protocol, but just because you thought there was not one, doesn't mean that I didn't.
Again, I don't know how you arrived at that, and.
You don't have to know how I arrived at that. We don't have to agree.
But how can you say that to me, but at the same time, you can arrive to say that I've already made my mind up on something?
We're just sitting here now and you all are talking about you're comfortable with how everything is, and I'm still asking questions. So that's where I got that from.
So there's still a 30-day clause, so even if we pass this and continue on and you find issues that we discussed and decided that we want to make a change, it just takes a 30-day notification. So I still don't really see what's the issue with just moving forward, and then you can have whatever meetings you want to have, and if there's something more we need to do, then we can bring it back.
Will
It's
it be
just
brought
30-day
back, though?
notice. If you want
If I had
to.
issues, but everybody
As-
else is comfortable,
As
you're
a
gonna bring
council
it back?
person, you can bring anything to the council. I mean, just because you may not like it doesn't mean we're gonna agree with you and vote against it, but you can certainly bring anything forward. All of us can. You can put things on the agenda anytime you want to. So if you had an issue, or you have an issue, or you don't like it, or whatever, the other thing too is it's a vote. There's 6 of us up here. We're about to vote. You can certainly vote no. But that doesn't mean the other 5 of us, doesn't mean we're discounting you. It's just we don't have the same concerns you do. So it's not really about you or us being in agreement with you or us making our decisions without you. It's, we all have an opinion, and our opinion is we're okay and yours may not be.
And that's exactly what I
So
said.
vote and move on.
That's what I said, though.
Well, it sounded like you were saying that we shouldn't vote yes because you have
No,
concerns.
that's not what I said. I said I had concerns and I still want to talk about it, but I understand that you all have made a decision or are okay with everything. That's what I said.
Well, I'll say this, the reason I'm okay with everything is because nobody's ever complained. For 6 years, we've all been acceptable to it. That's all I've got to say about that.
We also had this on the workshop earlier last month, or late last month. You had every opportunity between then and now to ask any questions and find out what it was, or sit down and talk to them. I mean, you know, there's a difference in stepping up and looking at it rather than sitting back and waiting for it to hit us.
Well, I wasn't.
And I feel a little blindsided by your bringing it up at a late date.
I did not have all the information when we had it on the workshop before.
But that's
So I
what the
couldn't-
workshop is for, is to ask the questions about it. What is this? I need to know what this is.
Well, I guess, hold on. So what information did you get that wasn't on the workshop? Because we haven't
We
gotten
just
any
talked about it.
information.
We just talked about it. Jeff talked about that we had this contract, it was never signed. It is the one pager, you weren't able to find it, there was not another one before now.
But you wouldn't know any of that unless Representative Stevens did an open records request.
That's not-
And so it seems like you're
But it
saying
was
that
brought
you didn't
up
have
by
questions
Jeff.
until he brought that up.
Because I didn't know we didn't have a signed contract.
Well, none of us knew
Neither
that.
did us. Neither did we.
But now that we know that there's not one, then there are other issues that came up. Because it's a one-page contract. It doesn't have a definitive term on it. It didn't have any deliverables on it.
But neither did the one that we signed, that
We didn't sign it, that's the problem. We didn't
February
sign
In
it.
February of 18, we did. In February of 18, we signed a lobbyist contract with Ingram that was.
No, that was in 16. Was that 16?
I'm sorry,
and 18?
2016, February 16th of 18
Yeah, February 16th of 2018.
Is when we signed the first one.
Yes.
is when we signed the first one. And it was the same thing, it had the 30-day out.
The only thing difference is it was more expensive.
The first one was.
The first one was more expensive.
First one was more expensive.
Well, then I didn't look at it then and didn't know. I didn't realize all the details that were not in it at that time.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Do you want to reach out to Beecher, or would you like Beecher to reach out to you?
I can reach out to him.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item F is approval of the terms of an authorization. Let me go back and say one other thing. If there is something that you talk to Beecher about and you would like to see, I would love for you to bring it back under a workshop so we can talk about if there's other things that we want to have included that give you more information or the entire council more information.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's even if you think we're not gonna like it or agree with it. If you've got it, bring it forward anyway, because we don't know what you know.
Okay.
Okay, item F is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute change order number 3 for the 1R lift station.
So on the drawing of the lift station, there was a suggestion on here. We would suggest a 1 plate to connect in place of 2.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
There was on the drawing that was part of the contract,
Okay.
there was some writing on here related to the lift system assembly. And it says, we would suggest 1 plate to connect in place of 2.
Okay.
Did we change that because of what was written or did you write that?
Well, so I did not write that. It was probably Mark, our engineer. So what happened is when we are redoing the lift station, we ordered larger pumps. They came in 18 inches taller than what we had anticipated. That killed the rail system that would run all across the 4 pumps to be able to lift the pumps over, move them over. You have to have a crane to get them out because they're on the bottom level, hooked to the crane and pull them out. So in working with the contractor, he recommended doing individual hoists, and the staff was on board with that, where you have a fixed hoist above the pump, lifts it out of the bowl, for lack of a better term, moves it over where the crane can get it and pull it out the portal, if you will.
Okay. And so will it stay that way with the
Yes,
1?
they're permanent.
Okay. Okay, that was my question related to the written statement on here.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions or comments? Okay, then do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item M is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute amendment number 2 with TDOT relative to State Route 266 Sam Ridley Parkway intersection at Old Nashville Highway. Charles?
Madam Mayor.
The reason I wanted to pull that off is because I know recently we've had some heavy rains again, and that corner still continues to flood, and we're getting questions about that. We all know what's going on, but can you address it so the public will understand that is something that will be remedied?
When the developer of the corner lots there improved the road, widened the road, we have much more water coming down the road that's not getting into the drain system, so it is coming down to the corner where it's holding. Under the new design that, we have the design plans now that have been approved by TDOT, there will be a 24-inch pipe that runs from that quadrant of the road under Old Nashville Highway to the other side, which will allow it to drain. It's a drain that's in there somewhere, I think in the past, but it's gotten covered up or blocked. We were unable to locate it, even when we were redoing, developer was redoing Old Nashville Highway there. So it's something that will be taken care of in the new project, which currently right now we had a discussion today that TDOT came back about the traffic control. We will be doing some of that work at night from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. just because we can't shut down a lane of Sam Ridley permanently. So that's something that TDOT's working with. And currently, right now, we are waiting just for TDOT's notice to proceed once they receive the federal funding in place.
So the remedy is on the way?
Yes, the remedy is on the way.
I know a couple of people I've spoken with.
Yes.
Plus, we all kind of see some of the comments made in the public arena, you know, from social media or whatever, but a lot of people just
But
think
Jenny-
they've already fixed it, it's gonna be like that, it's messed up, and that's not the case.
No, like I said, that's what was built there by the developer, adding that extra lane and then doing Jenny Lane. That's just brought more hard surface water down through there that's not in the drain. But once we get to that point, there will be a drain there in the new project.
And you're adding lanes there as well.
Yes, there's gonna be 7 lanes on each leg. There'll be
So
2
for
throughs.
anybody watching, I hope tonight, or
Yes.
commenting on social media,
When this project
remedy
comes
is
through,
being fixed.
it's, we're looking at about 18 months to rebuild that intersection, but it will have double lefts on each of the 4 legs, double throughs, and then an extra right turn lane, so
Give
some
a
of
lot
them
of
will be.
relief to the low side of that intersection.
Yes.
Yeah. All right,
So,
thank
and
you.
then, like I said, then new traffic signals there, and that will be connected to our traffic operations center.
Thank you for doing that.
I'm
Appreciate it.
assuming the modifications will be such that they can receive the 3 lanes from Old Nashville Highway to Lowry when we do that.
Right, well, that's
So we
like
won't have
from
to come
Sam
back
Rid-
and redo anything.
Right, coming from Sam Ridley, right now you have the painted out Gore area, because you only have 1 lane going on Old Nashville Highway towards Laverne. Now you will have 2, so you can put the double left like you have coming from Sam Ridley on. So you'll have the double lefts on each of the 4 legs, and plus now you'll have double throughs on each of the 4 legs.
Thanks.
Okay, other questions or comments on that? Then do I have a motion for item M?
I'll make a move to approve it.
For the motion, do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to our 2 public hearings under old business. Our first one is consideration of an ordinance amending the town's stormwater ordinance in order to comply with the new Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation requirements.
Tom's on a much-needed vacation with his family, so I will be carrying this. What this is TDEC is requiring changes to the stormwater ordinance, including the following, which is a minimum buffer requirement of 60 feet, additional information regarding maintenance of the stormwater systems, changes to the required water quality treatment calculations, additional outreach to the community, and additional enforcement for stormwater violations.
Question, did he make you say that about vacation?
No, ma'am, he didn't, but he owes me.
I think it's something they've worked out. He's gonna say the same thing. when
That's
Charles
right,
goes
when
over
Charles
vacation.
Yeah, there will be another time.
Okay, council, questions for Charles on this? Seeing none, then we'll go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one will close public hearing, go to council for a motion.
Motion to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Our second public hearing is consideration of an ordinance relative to a budget amendment for fiscal year 24-25 for the Rock Springs Road improvements for Mabel Farms to Cooks Lane.
Mayor and council, this is a line item that came up due to the development of Mabel Farms. This will allow us to get ahead of the developers coming in there and to make the improvements from the end of their development onto Cooks Lane.
Okay, questions for Tom on for Charles on this, about the section that we added there on Rock Springs Road? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing none, we'll go to the, I will close public hearing, go to council for a motion.
I will move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to new business. We have a couple of items under the Planning Commission report, and the first one is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of tax map 33, parcel 73.03 to go from R3 with ESO to PRD with ESO. It's requested by Janet Ibrahim Nassif, and the property requested to be rezoned contains approximately 2.1 acres and is located on Rocky Fork Road. Hey, Kevin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, this is a rezoning request on Rocky Fork Road. It's about 800 feet east of the intersection with Enid Springs Road West. The land use plan does designate this property as a part of the 24 Gateway Character Area, which would support a mixture of uses and services that are both local and regional in scale, such as hospitality, retail, restaurant, and multifamily type of uses. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R3 and PUD, which is the addition to Village of Valley Green PUD. This proposed PRD is for 5 duplexes, which are for a total of 10 units. These units would be 1,989 square feet per side, including a 2-car garage. Each unit would be 3 bedrooms. Exterior elevations are required to be stone foundation, brick, first floor, and cement siding on the second floor. One access point is shown to Rocky Fork Road, with all units being accessed off the internal private street. The site does lie within the Enid Springs overlay. The proposed elevations, as required by the Planning Commission, would meet the requirements of that overlay. Landscaping, lighting, buffering, and screening plans are required to comply with the overlay and would be reviewed in detail with the site plan submittal if the rezoning is approved. Sewer would be extended through an existing public utility and drainage easement that exists adjoining the site to an existing sewer manhole within Gamblewood Drive. The Planning Commission did review this request, did recommend approval with the condition that those architectural elevations are revised to show brick on the first floor for all 4 sides of the structures. With that recommendation and that condition, staff would also recommend approval.
Mark and Tim, anything you want to add to this? Is that a no?
Well, I mean, where to start? You know, we've looked at this for several meetings over planning, and staff has worked with the developer and the engineer on this quite a bit. You know, where it's at, it's consistent with some of the surrounding zoning. They have brought it up to ESO with what we've required. You know, we think we're now at a development that will mesh with where it's located.
Questions on this?
Kevin, how far off of Rocky Fork does the ESO go? Or off of Enid Springs, I guess is the question.
Well, it's all of Rocky Fork Road, kind of in this piece there, like where the Talia Trace project is on the Old National Highway side. That is all within the overlay. As you go further west on Enid Springs, the adjoining parcel there that was a part of the adjoining PUD was not included, but it goes essentially 1 parcel deep for all the way to the interstate.
But how far down Rocky Fork Road does it travel?
On this side, this property side, it ends basically at the neighborhood there that's on Alexis Drive.
Okay.
Is where it ends. On the other side of Rocky Fork Road, it goes all the way across, all the way to Old National Highway.
Okay. Adjacent to this property, there are quite a few single-family homes, are there not?
To the rear, yes. And then there's, I think, along that side of along that side of Rocky Fork Road, there are a couple through there between there and Enid Springs Road.
Have we had any feedback from any of the residents over there or anything?
No.
Mark or Tim, can you talk about the condition? It's, you said revised architectural elevations to show brick on the first floor. So it's essentially brick all the way around, but there could have like hardy board or cement siding on the like gables and that kind of thing. Is that what that means? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So I'm looking at the elevations and it looks like that's right. Yeah, okay.
Kevin, you mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting that it was, as long as it's less than 3,600 feet, it can meet the 1,000 gallon PSI. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, the fire code, if a house is larger than 3,600 square feet, under roof, counting a covered porch or anything, there is an increased requirement as far as, the fire flow has to be, it goes up, I believe it's 1,500 gallons per minute at 20 PSI. These would have a firewall between the units, and so they're kind of be built like a townhome. And so that's, under the fire code, that's treated like a single-family residence, so.
So in other words, they don't have to put sprinklers in?
It wouldn't have to put sprinklers in.
Right,
Correct.
because it's, even though it's 3,800 under one roof, there's a firewall separating in half.
Correct.
So no sprinklers, you said, or yes sprinklers?
Would not have,
Okay.
would not be required to have sprinklers.
Okay. And there's not gonna be an issue as far as fire flow meeting the 1,000 gallons?
Correct.
Okay.
Where on this under, well, were this under normal residential zoning?
Here's the question.
Where would it fall?
It would, as a duplex units, those would fall under R4.
Other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'm going to move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2 is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of tax map 49G, Group F, parcels 1.00, 2.00, 3.00, 4.00, 5.00, and 6.00 to go from R1 to R4. It's requested by Josh Newman. The properties requested to be rezoned contain approximately 5 acres and are located at 308 through 330 Chicken Pike. Kevin?
Yes, these properties are on, along Chicken Pike, kind of between the intersection with Old National Highway and the other portion of Chicken Pike. The land use plan would support medium-density, single-family residential in this area. Surrounding zoning is R1 and PRD, which is the Cantrell Farms PRD in town, and RM in Rutherford County. Each of the requested parcels has an existing duplex on it. These appear to have been built in 1983 or 84. This area was annexed into Smyrna in 1992. As such, they are legally non-conforming within the R1 district. These parcels are not currently served by public sewer. CUD has indicated that there is adequate fire flow in this area for this to meet this requirement for these this type of structures. The Planning Commission discussion regarding this request did include the potential for redevelopment of these parcels if the rezoning is approved. At that time, staff did estimate that the existing 6 tracks could be reconfigured into 8 to 10 tracks. Upon further investigation, that estimate has been revised to a maximum of 14 based on the estimated road frontage of 200 feet along Old National Highway and 1,000 feet along Chicken Pike. That redevelopment would require extension of public sewer. The Planning Commission did review this request, did recommend approval. Staff would also recommend approval.
So I understand, Kevin, if they decide to do that, break this into smaller lots, move forward, what comes back to us versus planning? Or is it anything, once we approve R4, it's R4?
It would basically be it would just come back to Planning Commission for a redevelopment. It would be basically a new subdivision plan altogether, because they would have to move all those lot lines around. Obviously, there would be construction plans for new sewer lines and all those kind of things that have to be looked at as well.
But would that come back to council or just planning?
It would just come back to planning.
So here's one of the things we had a pretty good discussion about. That's a fair question too, is one we asked. What could they do if they were granted a rezone? And so Kevin just sort of explained some of that. The flip side of it was it doesn't meet our current zoning, right? It's duplexes sitting in an R1. So what we wanted to know is if it were rezoned, how many units could they essentially try to put in there? And would that help what is currently there be better? And so I think that was some of the thought process behind it. It's because you've got some pretty dilapidated old rental units there that it's an opportunity if this person chose to come back in and request more units, it's at least an opportunity to build a limited amount of new units that would look a lot better. So I think that's the side, Tim, you can speak to that, I think that's the side the planning commission felt was the win-win. But yes, the planning commission would be able to review it when it came back in to make sure they were comfortable with it.
Did you say these are all duplexes?
Currently.
Currently
Yeah, so-
are.
So it's essentially 12
12
units.
units on 6 lots.
Yeah, on
Right.
6 lots. They could break this into 14, but they,
And their road frontage is
even if they
challenging
put
too.
one on each of the 14, it would still only be 14 versus 12.
In all new units.
Right, and all new units.
Yeah.
So it's really
That's-
not getting more dense, except for maybe by 2 units if they went the most dense they could.
Yeah, that's correct, because when I first looked at this, and, you know, I looked at it from perspective of, I hate to use the phraseology, but downzoning, you know, where you're going from an R1 to an R4, you're going from less dense to very dense. So we looked at that, but when you look at it, you know, it's non-conforming as it is, so in effect, you know, it's an R4 functioning in an R1, and Mark made a great point that, if this were done in anticipation of redevelopment, I think we'll see nicer units there, and, you know, as far as the surrounding communities, Cantrell Farms and Burton Farms and all that, I think it's gonna look a lot better and be an improvement for this area.
Yeah, it's a lot different than if it was just empty land.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
It could sit R1 then.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you feel like it sets any precedent for the property across the street?
I mean, obviously, they could use the surrounding zonings R4, R3, whatever conversation, but, I mean.
I don't know that that matters when it
Patton
really gets
Retreat,
down
which
to
is
it.
probably the largest subdivision adjacent to this, is R3.
Yeah, and right behind it is Canton Farm.
I think there's 20, I think I counted 28 townhomes backing up to the first 5 of these 6 tracks. I mean, you know, the houses in the 6th one.
What is R5?
Mobile homes.
Oh, okay. It was like, we don't see that come through very often.
I would love to find your statements right there. No.
Is that behind the market?
I don't think it's that far north.
Frontier Drive, that's where the snow cone was.
Yeah.
And then you go back and it's.
Okay, any other questions? Then do we have a motion?
I move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item B is consideration of an ordinance to amend municipal code Title 12, Building and Utility Codes, Chapter 4, Mechanical Code. Hey, Christie.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the proposed amendment to the mechanical code that will require steps or pull-downs to access equipment located in an attic or on a roof more than 16 feet high. It will also require a permanent ladder where roof elevation varies more than 30 inches. This amendment also includes the technical specifications for those steps.
Questions for Christie on this?
So pretty much you're going to be required to have a pull down
A pull-down.
instead of just a push up square.
It's got a hole, too. I call this bill the Ty Starks bill.
Right.
Okay. Questions, comments? Then do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in-
I do have a question. Were these specifications from the Southern Code or whatever?
They were specifications that I found from different ordinances, different facilities. Just basically, these specifications will make it more either a ladder or what we would call a ship's ladder, rather than having 2x4s stuck on the side of a room where you would have to climb on the top of it. We want there to be some specifications.
It just seemed like, I don't know, one of the primary purposes of it is moving large appliances or units, if you will, up and down the stairs, but then it calls for the stairs to have handrails on both sides, and that sounds like that could be a little hard to manage.
That's true, but really and truthfully, it's for the homeowners to be able to look at their equipment. That's one of the big problems. The regular inspection that a homeowner should be doing, and they're not able to get up there. I mean, the Scott Hall is an awkward way to get into your attic.
Still got to get it up there.
Yeah, you just kind of have to, I mean, you know, it's not easy, so.
Okay, just a question.
Other comments or questions?
So how does that work then? If it's gonna have railings, I see your point, but how does that work? They have to put it up there first and then put the
Well, generally,
railings
like, if you
down?
think about an attic pull down, when you pull it down, it has a handrail on the sides. It's already there. It's not really gonna interfere. It's just something for you to hold on to. It's not a handrail that's this high. It's just a little handrail on the side.
They just have to lift it up above it, get it above that rail to get it up there, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you've ever put your Christmas stuff up in the attic, you
Sure.
know what we're talking about.
Okay.
But it's, you know, you've got to have something to hold on to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C is appointment of one member to the Parks Board to serve an unexpired term ending in 2025. Ashley Lester let us know that she had to resign her position due to some changes in her work schedule. And we had 5 people apply: Sharon Creasy Hemingway, Megan Deach, Danny Francis, Jordan Merriman, and Carlos Rawls. And this is mayor appointed and confirmed by council majority. And so I will appoint Megan Deach to the Parks Board to fill an unexpired term ending in 2025. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I don't have anything under other tonight. Jeff or Amber, anything under other?
Not under other.
Okay. Sierra,
Sheila?
have you been practicing?
Came back.
Okay, good evening. The sales tax figures are in for state share tax. We got 648,000, so year-to-date, we're at 1.4 million. Looking at where we were this time last year, that's a 1.6% increase. As far as local sales tax goes, we brought in 1.7 million for a year-to-date total of 3.5. And looking at this time last year, it's a 2.2% increase. So revenue is increasing just a little bit, not like we've seen in the past.
Sierra, do you know what HG is going to tell citizens?
Shop local. It really does make a difference.
It does. As much as we kind of kid about it, it absolutely makes a difference when you do your shopping inside the city limits of Smyrna. So, questions for Sierra?
Sierra, this might be a question you don't want to answer, can't answer right now, but although it's increasing, we're still not keeping up with projected budget. So when does that become an issue? What's the percentage that we need to start worrying about?
After December sales?
Yeah, I wouldn't start worrying at this point. We're still pretty close
Yeah,
to what we budgeted.
it is. I mean, just 2 months in, but we're about 1.5% back, at least on the state shared tax from what we budgeted. And obviously, we put projects in the budget based on that budget, so when does it become an issue is what, I get it, we're still technically, revenue's increasing, but just not at the rate we thought it was going to.
I don't have an exact answer for that. I do know that the entire finance staff went to the TGFOA conference last week, and we had an economic class, and the projections were strong still. There was no indication that we should worry, that it still is not as strong as we've seen in the past, but
I guess that
no alarm bells were
could
sounded.
also be dependent on what happens in November.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and when we have our mid-year look at the budget, that's something we absolutely can look at and discuss too. So. Okay, thanks, Sierra. Department heads or directors have anything they need to announce tonight? Nope. Amber?
I believe I have a couple slides. I think I got Jerry's slide tonight. The Smyrna Sister City program has a few more spots to fill for the 2025 trip to Zama, Japan. They're looking for students who desire to travel and are excited to learn about Japanese culture. If this sounds like your student, please visit the Town of Smyrna's website at townofsmyrna.org to learn more about the program and the application process. And then I have the census slide again tonight. And so we're still conducting our census, and you guys will be tired of hearing me speak about this by the time the beginning of the year rolls around. But if you will jump online or call Town Hall to complete your census, we've still got mailers that are going out. We'll have 2 separate mailers that will go out through the regular mail. A lot of people are calling in right now because they've received that in their utility bill, and so there's inserts in there. And then you can also jump online at townofsmyrna.org. There's an online form where you can go ahead and plug that information in, or you can call directly into Town Hall if you don't want to complete it and stick it back in the mail. Only 3 pieces of information that we ask for. It's your address, so street number and name, the number of people living in the home regardless of age, and we just need the first and last name of each resident. So no other personal information other than your address, number of people, and full name. That's all I have for tonight.
And Amber, they won't have to hear you talk anymore about it if they'll all do it.
I know, right?
That's right.
That's what
So we could be done with it
That's what I
quickly.
tell everybody that calls in here.
Yeah.
So,
Jeffrey Yale?
Yes, we have a couple slides first to start off with. Friday night, save the date for these fun Halloween events. Friday night's Friday, October 11th and Saturday, October 12th at the SOAC. 6 p.m., 8 p.m. do the non-scare hours in Kid Zone, and then after 8 p.m. till 10 is the scare hours. See Mike for further on that. The Parks and Recreation Department is looking for craft vendors, businesses, and groups that are interested in promoting their organizations at Halloween in the Park. And if you're interested in a booth, contact Parks and Rec Department at 615-459-9773. Look forward to these Halloween events. Next, Smyrna's 49th Annual Christmas Parade. Save the date for that. We'll also have the food drive will be held that day, Sunday. It's on Sunday, December the 8th at 2 p.m. It'll be on Lowry Street. The town is accepting applications for entry into this year's parade. Organizations wishing to participate may complete the application online or in person at Smyrna Town Hall. For detailed information and instructions, visit townofsmyrna.org. I'm not going to read all that. Admin Christmas Parade. Just look for Christmas under the search button. You'll find it. In addition to enjoying the parade, we invite you to make a difference in our community by donating our Christmas Parade food drive. Town personnel will collect non-perishable food items from spectators along the route and participants at check-in. And this much I wanted to make viewers can see that. We get several calls from folks. We have tried to put it out on social media as well of how they can donate or assist somehow with the flood victims from the hurricane, especially in East Tennessee, North Carolina. And so the Rutherford County Emergency Management Agency has asked us to funnel all those into one place so it can be organized to reach out to TEMA under the Tennessee government. If you can see down there at the bottom of your screen, it gives you the address to look at. But if you go into tn.gov and look up hurricane, you will see it on their front page. And then last, I do not have another slide, but this is my last week as the interim town manager. And so I'm sure everyone feels the same.
He's probably feeling the same way right now.
But I wanted to thank, it's really the directors and entire staff, the directors and staff, for making it so easy for me. I really appreciate every one of them, especially for admin with Casey and Amber, Melissa, Todd and Rex, being a great support for me, making sure that I didn't fall outside the hedges. And I thank the council, each one of you, for entrusting me to do this important job during this transition period. So I appreciate that. And welcome, Mr. Santucci is in the crowd tonight, and he will be up here next time. And I'll be sitting to his left. But anyway, it's been a
And Ben
great.
gets to go home?
Ben gets to go home, unless he has something on the agenda, but then he'll be here. But
Jeff, you've done a great job. I don't know how you've balanced both in regards to all of the roles of town attorney as well as the additional jobs of town manager, but you've really done a great job and we appreciate all that you've done.
well, thank you. It's been an honor.
Yep.
Good 6 months. That is all.
Ben?
Left my slides in the truck again, so.
Oh,
And I won't be here again, so I guess, I don't know.
not unless you're at the podium.
He'll make special appearances.
That's right, special appearances.
Jeff likes the vacation. I think he'll be here.
Raquel?
I have one slide, Smyrna Fire Department's open house. The Smyrna Fire Department will host an open house on Sunday, October 13th at Station Number 1, which is at 401 Eden Springs Road West, and that will be from 1 until 5 p.m. Please join us for a day filled with interactive, educational, family-oriented activities. Attendees can actively participate and learn more about the power of prevention and available technologies to protect their families from fire. There will be inflatables, Sparky the dog, car seat safety checks, free hot dogs and popcorn, so please come out and join us. All right, and I would like to say welcome to Mr. Santucci and thank you to Jeff for serving as interim. We appreciate all that you've done and the time you've taken to help keep moving us forward.
Thanks for allowing me.
And that's all I have.
G?
Also, welcome, and thank you, Jeff. And the rest of the staff also for, stepping up when they needed to. But I do have a slide, love where you live, help keep Smyrna litter-free, and shop local, it says. But, let's try to get that trash into the trash cans and don't let it blow out of the back of your truck when you're on the way to the service center. And, as the hurricane that went through was pretty darn devastating, and another part of the state right now, Florida, is just bracing themselves for what's fixing to happen. And it looks like it's going to be as bad or maybe worse for the folks down there. And let's just keep them in our prayers and then also be kind to each other. Thank you, folks.
Timmy?
Jeff, thank you. I appreciate the phone calls that you took from me during the interim. I knew how busy you were, but you took the time to answer questions and explain the issues, and for that, I'm very thankful. Dave Welbeck, I'm very excited about what you're going to bring to Smyrna. You're going to be joining a great team here, and I think there are nothing but great times to come. I'm very excited. And I do have a slide. Here we go. Congratulations to our car show winners. The Spectator's Choice went to Jesse Morton for a 1987 GMC Sierra Classic. The Contestant's Choice was Wes, a 1969 Z28 Camaro. Most Original went to Clint Whitmore, a 1974 Ford Mustang Mach 1. The Mayor's Pick was the 2012 Mustang, and that was Michael Maddox. The American Classic, a 1932 Ford 5-window coupe, went to Steve Waldron. And the Best in Show was a 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air hardtop to Dan Day. So thanks for everyone that participated. As always, these car shows are just incredible. That's it.
Steve?
Jeff, although I was clapping, it was a joke. You've done a great job. I mean, I've talked to you, I think, multiple times a day since you've been doing the job, and I'm actually very impressed with how well you've maintained both jobs and kept up with everything. So very good job, done a wonderful job, and I'm sure you're ready to go back to just doing half the work you have to do, right? So,
Thank you.
and I came in today and was surprised to see Dave here, so welcome, Dave, glad you're here. Looking forward to the next few years. I think you're gonna do great things for Smyrna, so I really appreciate that. I had the opportunity the last couple of weeks to speak at American Government class and the Political Science class at Motlow. Dr. Bill Kraus invited me to come speak to his class. And one of the classes is a dual enrollment, so it's high school seniors who are at Laverne High School and also at Motlow. And then the other two classes were college freshmen and sophomore. And it was actually really enjoyable. They had very engaging questions. Dr. Kraus had them do what he calls windshield day, and that's where they drive around town and take notes, ask questions, make comments about things that they see or that they like or don't like. And then I was their follow-up to that. I did not know that coming in, so they had just been out in town and had lots of things to say, and then I came in and I got the questions. So most of the questions were things that we've all heard many times, and it was good to talk to them. There were I'd say about half the class was Smyrna residents and half were Laverne or from somewhere else. And so it was pretty interesting to hear, 18 to 20-year-olds' perspective on town and what's going on.
Was that the majority of what the age was of the kids that were there?
Yeah, there was only probably one person, I only remember one in any of the three classes that I would say was, a young adult or an older adult, maybe 30-ish, but everybody else seemed like they were relatively new college students. They were very engaging, very entertaining. They had lots of questions about Seward's Landing, lots of questions about commercial properties that are under development. They were excited about scooters and Dunkin' Donuts and some of the stuff that's happened recently. They are loving Jenny Lane Extension. They can now leave Motlow, and this was the example they used. We can drive to Starbucks and get back before class change. So they can now get down to Starbucks at the other end. Now, I did tell them that Seward's Landing is going to include a Starbucks, so that's going to even get quicker for them soon.
You can walk over now.
Yeah, they can walk over. But it was a lot of fun, and I still have one more class to visit next Friday, I believe. But I really appreciate Dr. Kraus. Dr. Kraus is actually Jennifer Krause's dad from Channel 5. He's also hosted WGNS radio show. He's a retired town manager from California, and I think he was involved, I don't know what his role was at Oak Hill, but he was in Oak Hill for a while. Okay. So he's got a little bit of history and understanding of local politics, and very supportive of what we're doing here. He lives in Brentwood, not in Smyrna, but still a very, very smart man and fun to be with. One thing I'll tell you is he does roll every day in the class, and he makes the students respond if they're here or not, and he always follows it up with, how's your day? If they just say good, okay, average, then they get a B for class participation that day. If they respond with awesome, great, fantastic, some word like that, then he gives them an A for class participation that day. They have learned this, so now when he does roll and he says, how's your day? They are always like over the top, like fantastic. There was even one girl that jumped up out of her seat and went, awesome. And so he's definitely getting responses from them and getting them engaged, which I thought was really cool. So it was a lot of fun. I also have a slide. One of the things that we hear a lot is potholes, and with winter coming and the winter we had last year with a lot of ice and storms, and then the rain that we've had the last few days, potholes have opened back up. The town of Smyrna has purchased a new hot asphalt pothole repair machine. So in our picture here, we got our public works team working to repair potholes. It says around town, but this picture is in front of the Judicial Center. They're actually approaching the intersection of my neighborhood, which is kind of nice. Their commitment is evident in the progress they made. The red apparatus in the picture here is the new device, and the way it works is they approach a pothole, they remove the loose material, clean it out, then fill the pothole with this tar material, and then use the tamper seen in the picture there to pack it down. So making it a little easier for us to do some repairs and a little faster by being able to do it ourselves. There have been times in the past where this was all contracted, so this gives us a little bit more flexibility. And I think that's all I got.
Mark?
Got a couple slides. So Veterans Day, we will be, join us on Monday, November the 11th, over at the Captain Coos Memorial there across from the golf course, the airport area, to celebrate and honor our veterans for 2024. It's always a good and humbling event to be there and say thanks to our veterans. The second one is about early voting. Town Hall serves as an early voting polling location. Early voting does start October the 16th and runs through the 31st. That's a Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturday from 8 to 2. So you'll want to make sure you write those times down. I've seen people show up at early voting and the polls weren't open yet. So when voting at Town Hall, please enter the parking lot from the rear of our building here on Pinto Drive and follow the signage down back. Please remember to bring your state or federal government issued ID when you vote. And for more information, there's a website you can see, I think there on the, yes. Or do I see it?
No, it's not on.
I don't see it. So rutherfordcountytn.gov/early/voting, if you want to know more. I want to say this too. This is election season. There's, we have people that serve, and some of these people up here with me are involved in a campaign, Steve and Raquel. Tim has made the decision to spend more time with his family. We're going to miss Tim gratefully. I mean, he's going to be missed sorely, I can tell you that. So to both of them, I wish them both well in their campaigns. There's other candidates out there, and I will say this. I think sometimes we forget to say our gratitudes. We get caught up in negativity too much, and I'm not saying that's other candidates or these candidates. What I'm saying is, if we can focus on the good, we can all be better. Nationally, we don't see that, and I hope we can be an example here in Smyrna for that. Civility and discord that I think matters more than anything. Those that are running to fill at least Tim's empty seat and attempting to take another seat or two here on the council, I will say to this, good luck in your campaigns. This is not an easy job. It's much harder when you're on this side of the podium and you're getting challenged or called out or whatever. Or I will say we are a good group here, and I've enjoyed working with all of them. I think all of us bring something to the table. So if you're looking for a government that operates smoothly and well, pick your candidates that way too. I think that's important. And thank you to those running. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because they're willing to put themselves out there. They're willing to try to step in and do what we do. So I wish everybody well in this. But Lindsay back there in the back row, thank you for having a heart for the hurricane. You don't have to come up. I just wanted to say thank you. You're done. You don't have to speak again. But thank you for having a heart for hurricane relief. Our church at Life Point Church in Smyrna is also doing the same thing. There's a lot of ways to give. There's so much devastation there, so much that we don't see that people are struggling with. Dave, welcome. I know you're probably somewhat glad to get out of the rain down in Florida and be up here with us. And I'm looking forward to having you as our town manager tomorrow, right? Jeff?
Monday.
Monday. Well, I'm saying tomorrow because he's here. Jeff, thank you. And Ben. I know Ben has had to fill in some for you. That's the way this works. You step up, you handle the bigger load. Ben had to step up and handle the bigger load. So,
He's done a great job.
so thank you both for that work. Judy, are you here for Leadership Rutherford by chance?
We are.
Okay. So you can prove that you were here. Why don't you just announce your names and then you'll get credit?
I'm Judy King. Shauna McConnell.
Jeremy Ray.
You're in a great program. And so glad to have you guys visit us tonight. I hope you got to see how government works. I wore pink tonight. You know why?
Breast cancer awareness.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month is October, so I'm representing that. Go get screened and take care of yourselves, okay? It's important. I'm going to have a 40-year-old daughter this weekend. I can't believe my wife and I, Connie, are going to have a 40-year-old daughter. This is our oldest. Happy birthday to my daughter.
I can't believe you do. I'm
Yeah.
really,
Well,
I can't believe Connie.
I'll agree
She looks
with
like
you
she's
there.
30.
I'll agree with you.
But you
there.
definitely, I'm surprised she's not 50.
Well, she spent about a week watching my grandkids so that my daughter and her husband could travel. And I think she would tell you tonight, when she got home yesterday, that she feels about 80. That's a challenge. But Mayor, that's all I have to know.
So my first slide is, we proudly recognize our Treasury and Utility Customer Service representatives in honor of National Customer Service Week. This week is a perfect opportunity to celebrate the importance of customer service and the people who serve and support our customers daily. Their commitment to providing great customer service truly makes a difference, and we invite you in joining us to acknowledge and appreciate our customer service personnel. And if you've not ever had to work a customer service type of role, I think it is something everybody should have to do at some point in their life. It absolutely will make you treat people differently. So our Christmas tree lighting ceremony, we're looking forward to this year's ceremony. Come out and enjoy the fun as we kick off the holiday season. Our lighting ceremony will be held Tuesday, November 26th at the Smyrna Train Depot. The event is scheduled from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we'll have a visit with Santa, and you can get free pictures with Santa and Mrs. Claus, courtesy of the Smyrna Fire and Police Departments. The town of Smyrna cordially invites you to meet and greet reception to welcome our newly appointed town manager, Dave Santucci, to the Smyrna community. The reception will be held from 4 to 6 at the Smyrna Event Center on Sam Ridley Parkway East, and we invite everybody to come out and have an opportunity to meet Dave. You talked about your daughter's birthday. Tomorrow is a really exciting day for our family. Daddy turns 80. So we've kind of been celebrating all week, but so I want to wish Daddy happy birthday. Council, is there anything else? Okay, if there's nothing else, then we are adjourned.
People not there on the bench, they talk too much.
I got frozen eggs tonight.
I told him.